Today, I'm going to be sharing with you all of my tips and tricks on how to source incredible antique and vintage jewelry from flea markets. If you are new here on this channel, hi, I'm Laura, and I've been a full-time vintage reseller for over a decade. I think I'm going on year 13 right now, which is actually kind of crazy when I say it out loud. All the way back in 2012, I decided to step away from my interior design job in kitchen design, and it was a huge decision and it was terrifying. I did love my job, but I just had this desire inside to be an entrepreneur and work for myself. And I'm not going to go into the whole backstory of exactly how everything started, but I had a couple specific passions and things that I was really into: interior design and jewelry. I started my entire business with absolutely no loans, just a $200 investment that I took from one of my checks, and I invested that into some vintage items. Then I worked really hard while I was still working my job for about 6 months, and as I sold those vintage items and started eventually making profit, I reinvested the profits into my inventory and into the brand. So no matter where you are in life, it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, if you've got the drive and the passion and you're willing to learn and work hard, today's the day to start. Because really what you're investing in is yourself. So first things first, you gotta have inventory. And so today I'm gonna go over how I pick the items that I do, how I research and learn about these items and figure out what the value is, and also how I photograph these items to make sure that they are showing off their true natural beauty when I list them online. One of the top questions that I get asked is, where do you find your jewelry and how do you source it? And the answer to that question is anywhere and everywhere. One of my very favorite places to find jewelry are the flea markets. And today I'm gonna take you to my favorite flea market in Paris, and I'm gonna show you how much incredible jewelry I can find digging through the piles. We're digging through the piles, and I've got a little bin started here. Some pretty brass and copper jewelry. I don't know what this is. It says made in France, and I thought it might be an egg cup holder. I'm not sure. Last time I was here, I spent 20 minutes, I think, getting out one necklace, but it ended up being worth over 100, so it was worth it. I really want this snake napkin ring. I thought that's kind of neat. There's some good stuff in here. Sometimes you gotta dig, but the price is right. The snake is free. Look at this. This is amazing. It's an earring. Look how massive that is. I'm gonna turn it into a pendant if I can't find the second one. I'm very excited about this. That's a neat one. There's so much in here. If you're into jewelry repurposing, oh my gosh, so many of these single earrings can be turned into pendants. I've been digging for an hour. This is what I have going on so far. There's a couple earrings. I'm holding out hope, but I'm getting close to the end of the table, so I don't think I'm gonna find the other earrings, and neither of these can be made into pendant necklaces too easily. I'm also thinking about this bird because I could turn that into a little door handle. Wouldn't that be neat? Oh my gosh, I can't wait to show you everything I end up getting. Okay, we just talked out a deal, and we're gonna do $300 for everything, including this beautiful carved wooden box. I just picked up one of my favorite Finnish designer necklaces for €30. This is probably worth about 150 US dollars. There's something really special about this job, knowing that you are picking up these heirloom quality pieces and you are finding them a new home. Jewelry is not just supposed to be put into a jewelry box and shoved away and never worn. It's a way that you can decorate yourself and show off your own unique personality. And jewelry is also a beautiful way to show a loved one how much you care for them. And I'm not just talking about a wedding ring or diamond earrings or a diamond necklace. I'm talking about a grandmother passing down a family heirloom to their great-granddaughter. Jewelry can hold so much symbolism and sentimental value. When I first started reselling jewelry, I knew almost nothing. I knew that sterling silver was good and I knew that gold was good, and that was pretty much the basis of my knowledge. But what I did was I followed my intuition and I only purchased items that I really loved. That way, if the item didn't turn out to be valuable or I wasn't able to resell it, it was something that I still would wear myself. Today, there are so many different platforms that you can resell on. You can sell in local flea markets or even open a jewelry case at a local vintage mall. That's a great place to start with a low-cost investment. My husband Jesse and I host international group trips, and we hosted one in Paris last fall in 2024. And then we also hosted another group in Paris just a few weeks ago. And both times I found an unbelievable amount of vintage jewelry for incredible deals. So this is some, not even all, of my Paris finds from the 2 trips that I did. I've already sold quite a bit. A lot of this is stuff that needs a little bit of work before I get it listed, but I really wanted to show you the wide variety of items that I look for. Every single one of these items I love, or I wouldn't have picked it up. Some of them are valuable just in their own right, obviously, like our necklace over here. This is actually a designer one too. Here's a very good example of something that I pick up because I see beauty in it and I really want to rework it. I love remaking jewelry and working with jewelry. Something like this might not be very valuable, but if I rework it as a pendant into a really cool necklace, that's going to add value to it. This was something I only paid €1 or €2 for, but once I rework it into a necklace, I might be able to get $80 to $100 for a very incredible statement necklace. And then you have items like this that just need to be put onto a sterling chain. This is French designer Pierre Perron, and it's signed on the back. Can be used as a pin too. So there's a lot of things in here that don't need work, and then there are a lot of things that do need work. I always pick up the Hamza hands of Fatima whenever I see them. Little things like this little antique pin. This one's an Art Deco pin, and it's actually sterling. Beautiful enamel. I look for things like this that I think are really interesting and different. This was an earring and I couldn't find the other one, but it could very easily be turned into a minimalist pendant necklace. I always look for sterling spoons and little odds and ends. This is actually an egg cup and it's a French designer one. I think I ended up finding out that this was worth around $50 or $60, and I think I paid €1 for it. And then I always pick up fun costume things that I just think would be cool to make into necklaces. So that one I'll do going across the chest this direction. This is a little bird hardware. I got this in the digger pile too. It just needs to be added to some kind of a little cabinet. Picked up some little vintage filigree pens for styling. I also look for tribal things because they might not be sterling, but they are handmade and they can hold a lot of value, especially if you know what country they're from and what era. This was a sterling silver whirling dervish, which is kind of a cool item. Here's another example of a kind of cool tribal item. I thought that was really interesting. Copper, brass, they're not sterling, so at these markets they're really undervalued. Most of these items that I got from the digger pile I paid only a couple euros at most for, including this copper filigree trivet. This would make a beautiful wall hanging. It says Albania on it. Vintage hat pin, double-sided. This was a really cool find too. This one is really interesting. It's a French designer. It's signed Paris, and I think it's signed 95. She said it's a well-known designer, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of digging and figure out who it's by. Usually when I have an item like that, I try to hold on to it and do as much research as I can. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. That'd be pretty added to a hat or a bag, a handbag. And then look at this beautiful crushed stone hummingbird. This is sterling. So many really great finds that are just kind of tucked in there. You just gotta dig for them sometimes. I really like this brass fringe necklace. I think I'm gonna take off the pink wooden beads. I feel like they take away from this design in the brass. What do you think? Do I leave the beads, keep it original, or do I take them off? More Hamza hand earrings, sterling and enamel. And then I loved these earrings. They have little porcelain pieces on the end with some little stones inset. Thought those were really neat. Look at this guy. That so needs to go onto a necklace. I love that. And then I did pick up 2 watches at the digger pile in Paris. I got this one that I've actually been wearing. I need to get a new battery in it. Unfortunately, the fabric is starting to come apart, so I do think I'll have to put a new band on it, but I just thought it was such a beautiful watch. And watches are all the rage right now. Art Deco lipstick holder. I didn't love the black and white beads on this necklace. I felt like it kind of takes away a little bit from this, but this Egyptian style pendant is gold plated. I think I might put it on a more minimalist chain. What do we think? Do we like it with the black and white? Let me know what you think in the comments below on this one. Now that I'm looking at this, I might keep that original. Wood is another example of something that people don't put a lot of value on. I thought this was a really cool design on this wooden cuff. Now it's not going to fetch a lot of money, but I do think it's worth more than the euro that I paid for it. And I can wood oil it just like I do my home decor items. Here's an example of some items that I pick up in hopes that they are solid gold. So on this specific day, I did not feel comfortable pulling out my loop. I was trying really hard to get a good price by bundling a bunch of stuff. And if I would have pulled out a loop and started really looking at all of these items, I think that they might have thought I was onto something and the price would have gone way up. Since I was getting so many items, I decided to go ahead and just throw in a few of these single earrings that I knew were gold plated, but I didn't know if they were solid gold, just in case. But it was worth the risk, because if one of those had been solid gold, it would have been worth the investment and paid for the entire lot. The digger piles are also a really great place to find interesting chains. Sometimes when you're putting a pendant onto a necklace, you need a big chunky chain that's interesting. And the digger piles are a really excellent place to find cool chains. It's pretty incredible what you can find if you just take the time and really dig through these piles. You've got to get down there. Your fingers are going to get dirty. If you've ever dug through jewelry, you know what I'm talking about. You might accidentally stab yourself on something, so please be careful, unlike myself. Oh, ow. And that's why you don't do that. That just got me. Try not to get overwhelmed. Try to just get in the zone and enjoy it, because you can find some amazing treasures hidden in there. On our most recent trip, my friend Roger was able to untangle this David Anderson bronze brooch. She's very beautiful. I love David Anderson. You've probably heard me talk about it a lot on my channel over the years. We bundled everything together, and so the price for this specific brooch was under €5. I can't believe that. That's such an incredible deal. I will pop up a value comp here on the screen so you can see what an amazing deal I found. Now imagine you're digging through that pile and you find 20 things where you can make this kind of margin. If you know what to look for, it's possible. Last fall, when I was in France and Belgium, I couldn't believe it, but I actually found not one, not two, but 3 of these vintage French cross pendants. They're gold filled and they have this beautiful black onyx stone on the back. I couldn't believe I found 3 identical ones. So I actually added some gold plated ear wire to 2 of them. And then I put this one on a gold plated chain that I also found at that flea market. I paid a total of only €10 for all 3 of these. Look at this incredible Morita Gill necklace. It is so stunning. It's got beautiful lapis stones. It's cast out of bronze. I found this at the very first flea market that we went to in Paris this spring. I'm getting this necklace for €45. When I saw it, I didn't know the designer, but I felt like it was based off a pre-Columbian South American design. It was signed on the back and I could tell it was very, very high quality. I love this piece so much. I might have to wear it a few times before I sell it. This is gonna be a hard one to let go of. I picked this up for only €45. This specific designer's items sell online for anywhere from $400 to $700. I love to find a great deal. I love to find something that's valuable, but I love to find something beautiful even more. Jesse and I went flea market shopping with my friend Roger, who's French and lives in Paris, and I immediately went over to the digger piles because I really wanted to find as much vintage jewelry as I could on this trip. And this beauty stood out to me. It is almost identical to a vintage Gucci design. It is signed Italy and 750, which is a stamp for gold. And I love this. It's very over the top, kind of 80s looking, but also very classic Italian, which is very popular right now. You can see the influence that I've had lately with my European travels with some of these kind of more traditional European chunky designs. I paid €10 for this necklace. Now I'm gonna pop in the price of what this would be if it was Gucci. If this had been an actual authentic Gucci, I could have sold this for several $1,000s. So this is why it pays to know what to look for. Next time I see a necklace like this, you better bet that I'm gonna be checking all of the stamps. Obviously, I love a good digger pile. That's gonna get my heart pitter-pattering, and that is usually where I'm gonna find the best deals and most valuable items. However, this tip is to don't overlook vendors that look like they are high-end. In the Paris flea market, there was a vendor that had really high pricing on his sterling silver items. He had absolutely beautiful stuff. There were multiple pieces I really wanted to buy, but I only had about 10%, maybe 20% max resale margins. And that's just not quite high enough with all the work that I put into photographing, listing, measuring, weighing, shipping, etc. Unfortunately, I knew I wasn't going to be able to buy any of his sterling jewelry. However, I have found that over the years, there is almost always a high-end vendor who doesn't value non-sterling and non-gold. And I was able to pick up these 3 bronze Brutalist designer Riva Remy pendants for very good prices. Sometimes looking for a designer piece that is not sterling silver or gold is actually going to be an incredibly profitable way to go. Each of these pendants on a necklace is worth around $100. They are even signed by the artist on the back. So this is a great example of why I never completely overlook a space just because they have some high-priced items. Because oftentimes people will overlook things that they consider costume jewelry. You've just got to know how to look for these quality pieces and find ones that are designer and therefore more valuable. This necklace that I found in Paris at a flea market is a perfect example of a valuable costume item. This is an authentic Christian Lacroix necklace, and I found it at a flea market in France for only €300. It is worth at least $1,000. This vendor actually did know what he had, but he still had it priced at a very reasonable price. If you're wanting to learn different jewelry designers, there are a couple ways that I recommend doing it. Number 1, join a Facebook group. There are Facebook groups for almost any topic. I really like to join specific groups because I feel like I get more value and I learn more about items in those. I would recommend joining a Brutalist Jewelry Facebook group, a Modernist Jewelry Facebook group, a Sterling Silver Facebook group, Victorian era, Egyptian revival, anything you're really into and you want to learn more about. Try to find a group that is dedicated to that specific era or that specific style. Jewelry books. I have quite a few jewelry books. I'll go ahead and link some of them in the description below that are my favorites that I use the most often. You can find such a wide variety of really well-written and researched jewelry books. You can find everything from books that specialize in hallmarks during the 1900s in England, to learning the history of Native American families and silversmiths who have been making incredible jewelry for generations, to books about ancient Etruscan jewelry. Those are actually some of my favorite books, and while they will not necessarily help you with any current designers, they will help you understand where a lot of jewelry designers pull their inspiration and teach teach you about different style methods, how jewelry was made 1,000 years ago. It's super fascinating. I highly recommend getting books. Tip number 3, spend a lot of time online looking at jewelry, researching and learning, and of course, going to antique malls. Hands-on experience is how you're going to learn how to identify if something is real sterling or not. Of course, there are multiple methods of how to test that, and I will go ahead and link a couple videos in the description below that will show you how to test for sterling and gold. But honestly, hands-on experience is going to be the best way. Once you start seeing and touching stones and metals in person, you're gonna start learning what to look for. As much as I love jewelry and I love learning, I still consider myself a complete rookie when it comes to this. There is so much to learn, and a lot of people have spent many years specializing in one specific thing. So whenever I have items that might be gold and I'm not sure if they're solid or if they're plated, I take them to my local jeweler to have him test the gold.
You want to scratch hard enough that you can get through the plating, but you don't want to scratch too hard because you don't want to ruin the piece either. So this one's a good one. This is actually 18 karat gold. You see how it's holding through? That means that is 18 karat gold.
Awesome. What do you think of just a total ballpark would be for that ring?
Melt, you're a couple $100. Retail, $500-600.
Not melting it.
This way I can feel more confident selling these items knowing that someone who really specializes in this has given me the sign off. Last fall on our group trip, I found this in the digger pile at the Paris flea market, and I was pretty sure it looked like real gold, but I really wanted to get it tested. And I also needed to know if it was a cubic zirconia or if it was a real diamond. So I took it to my local jeweler and he tested, and it is real gold and it's solid, which is wonderful. This was an incredible find, quite valuable. However, unfortunately, the diamond wasn't real. Now, had this stone actually tested as a real diamond, the process wouldn't stop there. I would need to know how high quality is the diamond? What size is the diamond? Because if I'm going to resell something, I need to make sure that I have all of the information before I list it. And that is where today's sponsor, GIA, comes in. I recently purchased a jewelry estate that had a lot of antique jade. I really needed to make sure not only was it real jade, because there is fake jade out there, but I wanted to know more about these items before I sold them. I wanted to know what type of jade are they? What quality level are they? Where did the stone originate in the world? So I knew that I needed some expert help on this. GIA is a public benefit institute that for over 90 years has worked to ensure the public's trust in gems and jewelry. They are the most trusted name in gemology. GIA created the 4 C's, which is a universal language to describe diamond quality: color, clarity, cut, carat weight. They are the world's most trusted name in diamond grading and color stone identification, and they assess more than 4 million gems annually. Creating an account is easy. It will walk you through step by step what you need to do to get your account set up today. You do not have to be a business to get your personally owned gems analyzed, graded, or identified. Once you've created and been approved for your GIA account, you can then start submitting your stones. If you have less than 10 items, you can easily create a manual entry. Here's the collection of jade that I bought out from the estate sale, and I'm so excited to send these into GIA and learn more about what types of jade they are. There are so many different kinds of jade: imperial jade, lavender jade, yellow and orange jade, black jade, ice jade, moss in the snow. And when I resell, I really like to have as much identification as I possibly can. So getting these identified is going to be very exciting. If you're like me, you're probably more familiar with this color of jade in jewelry, but as you can see, there's quite a variety. Jade can have such a range in value just depending on what grade it is and what type. So I'm very excited to learn a lot more about these. I selected 10 of the jade stones that I wanted to send in. Receiving the email with my results was like waking up on Christmas morning. I was weirdly excited to learn more about these stones. The report is really easy to understand, and it has every category broken down. They give you the exact weight of each stone, measurements down to the tiniest millimeter, a breakdown of the transparency and color descriptions, And the most helpful information is what species of stone it is. And I was very surprised to find out that only 3 of the items were actually jade. The majority were serpentine. Jade and serpentine are both green gemstones, but jade is significantly harder and more durable than the serpentine. Serpentine looks very similar to jade, but it is much softer, which now I understand why they may have chose that stone for the carvings. If it's softer, it's going to carve easier. So this information is going to help me so much with pricing and valuing these items. The reports will let you know if the stone has been dyed, and I didn't even realize that one of these stones had actually been previously repaired. Curious about your own gemstones or jewelry's identity? Get your stones analyzed with GIA. Link in the description below. I am so thrilled to have this information on this jade, and now I feel like I can bring it to my online store with complete confidence. And that information is going to help me a ton with figuring out the value of the items. I really hope you enjoyed getting to hear the process of how GIA works. I know I'm going to be using them down the road. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to send this in because it wasn't a real diamond. Fingers crossed, I'm going to find some more amazing gemstones digging through the flea markets in Paris. And now I know exactly what I'm going to do with them and where I'm going to send them to get the information. A huge thank you to GIA for sponsoring today's video. This was a pair of earrings that I picked up at the Mercantino on our Italy group trip, and I just love them. I think they're so different. They're dramatic. They've got incredible ruby and emerald stones on them. They are just so beautiful. I'm so into over-the-top earrings, and I love that they're actually lightweight. This is another cool pair of earrings I picked up in Italy. They've got these beautiful carnelian stones with the dolphins flanking them, and then they've got these Roman carved portraits. Very Etruscan revival. I think they're so different and unique.
You are not about to believe what I am about to say, Roger. When I was here last year, I bought the other earring to this, and I think I just found the matching earring.
I cannot even believe that I found the other one of these at the same flea market in Paris.
I just got back to the hotel and I was looking through my pictures from Paris from September. It's the same.
Last fall when I was there in September, I found this costume earring. It had a globe with a little swirl around it, and I just liked it because it represented travel to me, so I was picking it up for myself. And then 8 months later, I can't believe it, we're there on our second group trip and I find the other earring. That was fate. That was kismet. Meant to be. I need to do a little bit of work on the one that I found recently, and then I'm going to be able to wear them as a pair of earrings. This is another pair of earrings that I picked up in Italy at a flea market. They're hollow, so they actually don't weigh too much. You can see that's something that I bring up a lot. I try not to look for earrings that are too heavy. These are hollow. They're gold-plated sterling. I love those. This is another example of jewelry that can be quite valuable, but undervalued by a lot of people. I picked up this kind of a bird's nest brutalist ring at the Newark Antiques Fair. I only paid 15 pounds for this, so that's just under 20 US dollars. Even if it's not designer, it's so cool, and it's definitely worth closer to 100. And if it is designer, it could be worth a couple hundred, just depending on who the designer is. I've got to do a little bit more research on this one. I haven't had time yet, and it also doubles as a weapon if you need it. Now, I've given you options for where to look. You've got books, you've got Facebook groups, you've got antique stores, local jewelers, online jewelers, lots of places to do your research. It's so important, and I promise in the long span, it will be worth your time. Sometimes you might go digging for an hour on a necklace just to find out that it's worth the $80 you thought it was in the first place. But I promise you, from years of experience, every once in a while, something's gonna surprise you. You're gonna think it was worth only $80, and you found that little mark on this random website or a listing at eBay or Google search, and you realize that it was actually worth $800. Take the time to do the research and follow that gut intuition. I find that most people actually have a pretty good gut instinct of whether something is high quality or whether it might be different, and different is always good. The more odd or unique an item is, the quicker it tends to sell because it's not like everything else that's already out there on the market. So tip number 4 is do your research, take the time. There are so many places that you can learn from. Tip number 5, don't undervalue your items. Now I know when you're first starting out, you really want to sell. And so you're more inclined to price things at a lower price point, but you might just not be selling on the right platform. For example, Etsy and eBay have shoppers from all over the world. So even if you live in a small town or a small village and you can't sell it at your local antique mall, don't be afraid to sell it online because you're gonna have a national and international audience. And that means that you're gonna have buyers from all different areas and all different price ranges. And you're much more likely to be able to get a higher profit margin if you're selling online. With that said, always do what's best for you and your business in the moment. So if turning things over at a lower price point works really well for your business model, don't listen to anything I'm saying. Only you are gonna know what's right for you. Tip number 6. Start a social media account. I think this is so important if you want to have a long-term business. If you are just looking to start out for a year or two and you're maybe supplementing income, you're doing this as a second job, and you're just looking for profit margins, this might not apply to you. But if you are really looking for a long-term business, and this is something you're very passionate about, creating your own unique brand is very important. This is why I chose the route of buying what I love, because I'm able to curate my online store to reflect my personal style, and I treat it more like a passion project, which makes me love my job every single day. No matter how hard I work, no matter how many hours I put in the day, I'm always super grateful and I love my job. And part of the reason I haven't lost my passion is because I truly love every item that I'm finding in researching. Tip number 7, take good photos. This is so important if you're selling your items online. My biggest tips for taking good photos are making sure that you have good lighting. So in my case here in my studio, I actually don't have natural light. So I have to have soft white boxes that diffuse the light to try to give it that natural look. If you have a space in your home or in an office that has natural lighting, bright filtered light is always gonna look the best. You do not have to take photos with a DSLR camera. You can absolutely take beautiful photos with your iPhone. I still do a DSLR camera partly because I love photography and it's just something that I like to do, and I want that nice, clean, crisp photo. But you can absolutely have a very successful and beautiful jewelry store online by taking cell phone photos. Just make sure you brighten those and lift those shadows to make sure that the jewelry item pops. Another tip with photography, and this one can be hard sometimes because you want to correct a photo, do your absolute best to keep the colors of the stones and the jewelry as true and authentic to what you see in person when you're editing post-production. Like if you're really into editing like I love, sometimes it's tempting to kind of pop that turquoise or pop that coral, but you really want to make sure as close to true color is translating on screen. Tip number 8, make sure that when you are out shopping, you have the right tools on hand. And I wanted to quickly show you a few of the things that I bring with me when I travel to make sure that I can identify jewelry easily. First of all, I bring these little mesh bags to keep everything organized so that necklaces don't get tangled up with each other. All of these items will be linked in the description, so if you want to check them out and get the exact ones, I've got them linked for you. A little tape measure. This is so handy. You gotta have a tape measure. A magnet keychain. This helps with testing metals. And then the most important part, the jewelry loop. This is what I use for identifying very hard to read signatures and stamps. Super important. Always travel with one of these. I hope that these tips have been helpful. There are so many more. I feel like I could just talk for hours on this topic. So I would love to hear your tips. If you are a vintage reseller, if you are a jewelry dealer, please put your top tips down below and let's all help each other out, lift each other up, and encourage this incredible community of resellers. Also, let me know in the comments below if you would like to see more videos of this style where I kind of dive in a little bit deeper about a very specific topic. Thanks again to GIA for sponsoring this video today, and thanks to you for watching. I really, really appreciate your support and encouragement, and I will see you in a brand new episode here very soon.